Hi, folks. Dave, the Enhanced Audiophile, and I didn't realize I was going live, but apparently I am. So let's get started here. Give me one moment. My computer is doing something weird. That took me off by surprise. Refresh, make sure everything's going, and then we'll get this started correctly. As I've mentioned before, these live stream reviews are unique in that it's as we, it's basically you get to see all the oopsies, the didn't expect it to go that way, because I do my reviews this way. My video ones, I record them straight through, and if I make too significant of a mistake, I'll start over. So yeah, all right, so let's try this again. Hi folks, Dave the Honest Audiophile. This is the Sansi Miori SA500, and these are my honest audiophile impressions. I want to thank Shenzhen Audio for providing the Sansi Miori SA500 for review. To greatly appreciate it. Shenzhen Audio, you rock. All right, so the Sansi Miori SA500, it is a USB-C dongle. It will set you back $73 from your bank account, and it comes in this black box. You get some lettering, you get a little bit of picture on the back, and nothing too special about the inside here. Let me get my notes pulled up, and then we will there we go. So on the inside, you get this bag that has some paperwork in it, and also it has some decals, which we'll show you if I can get the bag open. There, we'll just do it this way. Here we go. All right, so you get some decal stickers, which on the website they talk about how it's like some sort of refrigeration thing, and you can put it on the backside of the dongle. I did not do that. I don't really put such things on devices. I'm just kind of plain Jane. I use them just as they come. And then you get a big, huge manual, which has several different languages. Set this to the side back here. All right, and then you get this tote. Now, this is interesting. You normally get some sort of carrying case or a pouch, or you don't get anything at all. So it's kind of nice that they give it. Kind of reminds me of like a butter that you would buy from the grocery store. Kind of looks like a container like that, or a different shaped Play-Doh. Play-Doh's normally circular, but it kind of has that same sort of lid. Taking off the lid, and you have your USB-C dongle, the SA500, and then you get a few accessories. You get a USB-C, the USB adapter, and then you get two short USB-C dongles. You get one that has the lightning to USB-C, and then you have one that's USB-C to USB-C. I use the USB-C to USB-C as I do not have a device, but it is nice that they include both, and I'm going to take that as an indication that it's compatible with Apple. All right, so then you get the SA500. On one side, you have your USB-C input. And then on the front, you have 4.4 balanced and single-ended. And then on one side here, you have volume rockers. And that's pretty much all that they do is volume rockers. The specs of the SA500, the output power is pretty impressive for a $73 dongle. On single-ended, it's 128 milliwatts. On balance, it's 510 milliwatts. Single to noise ratio is 130 dB, and the output noise is less than 3.1 UV, A weighted. Let's see here. THD and N is 0.0002%. Dynamic range 113 dB. Frequency response range is 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. It has an impedance range of 16 ohms to 300 ohm, and it does DSD up to 256, PCM 32384. There's no MQA decoder. It weighs approximately 16 grams, so it's fairly, it's got a little bit of heft to it. And then it does use USB 2.0, and it is compatible with Mac OS, Windows, iOS, and Android. I did test it on Windows, Android, but I did not test it on Mac or iOS. The build of it feels nice and sturdy. It has a magnesium alloy, and on the inside also it has a unique build as far as heatsink. And I noticed that for it being a metal material for the case, it doesn't get very warm when being used, which is a nice touch. Some of the metal ones will get really hot, and this one stays fairly cool. So whatever they have going on with the heatsink on the inside and being magnesium alloy, it works pretty well. The cable connection is about the right length. Nothing too special here. It is a flat design, and it's pretty well controlled. So it, will move up and down this way, but when you go to move it to the side, it kind of bends right here at the connection. And I worry that that's going to come loose at some point or just short out because it's going to get bent in weird positioning. So you do have to keep that in mind. The volume controls work nicely. They're a little bit on the small side, but they're easy to find and to move. They make a nice little clicking noise when touching them. And then, of course, you have your 3.5 and 4.4 balanced output. The most important thing about a dongle, how does it sound? I found that the Sansi Miori SA500 has a very pleasurable sound. Now, it's interesting that that Sansi Miori claims that it has like a tubiness sound to it, and we'll talk about that and we'll compare it to a tube dongle and see how it performs in that regard. But when it comes to the actual sound of the Sansi Miori SA500, it's a very neutral and natural presentation. I was rather impressed at that, and that was the first thing that stood out, was how neutral it sounded. It has a kind of an analog neutral presentation to it. The bass has nice power. There's good impact, punch, and slam, especially in the mid bass, and there's nice extension into the sub bass. You get a little bit of that rumble and grumble. The upper bass is very well controlled, but yeah, it's not too thin or leaned out to so it doesn't impede with the mids. There's enough body there to continue with the fullness of the sound. The bass has very nice quality about it. There's good details, nice resolution, and very good natural tone and timbre with very good spacing. It does lean more to the quality side of things than the quantity, but the quantity is there with its power and punch and slam, and it's enough to really keep things going, but it's not the focus. The quality is the focus. Going into the mids of the SA500 are very natural. They sound very organic, and you get this emotional connection. They have this pleasurable presentation to them while still staying neutral and giving you enough analytical presentation. There's nice air and space, just like the bass has, and then also it has very good details and resolution. Overall, I find that the mids have this connection to them and walks the balance between being a neutral and having a little bit of the pleasurable musical side. And then going into the treble has nice air and crispness, and it extends nicely. There's good bite and edge, but it doesn't really force it. It's not the most authoritative of treble, and it walks a little bit to the laid back side so that it's not non-fatiguing. I do wish that it had a little bit more of crispiness to kind of give you that true natural presentation, but it is slightly a little bit on the more musical side when it comes to the treble to keep it kind of maintaining that non-fatiguing presentation. Overall, though, I find that it does a good job with the bass, the mids, and the treble all playing together and being very organic, sounding very natural, and having good tone and timbre. Soundstage that the SA500 presents is good in presenting small, medium, and large, and going grand. It doesn't do often, but it kind of stays in that small, medium, large size, and you can differentiate between venues, but when things are really big sounding, it doesn't really give you that big grand presentation. But what it does really well is depth and layering, and it keeps things separated. And with that air and space that it has in all of the frequencies, it gives each individual component of the track its own little place. And everything kind of minds its own business. I'm over here, I'm over here. We're moving, we're doing this, we're doing that, and we're staying in front and behind and moving, tracking. Does a really good job with this imaging, depth, and layering. The details and resolution are also very good in that regard. Everything comes out in the track. It's going to portray it. It's going to be there. I wasn't hunting and pecking and wondering if I was going to hear things. Resolution wise is good for its price point. Is it the best dongle available? There's a lot of dongles out there, and it's very competent in what it does, and it has it presents it in a very non-fatiguing, engaging with some emotion to it, and you're going to get enough. You're going to get what you're looking for, but you're not really going to explore new things, and everything is very nicely refined, defined, and focused. And then the tone and timbre is very natural. Everything sounds very accurate and true when it comes to instruments, and you're able to differentiate between all the different instruments. You're going to be able to tell whether or not something is in the brass or in the woodwinds or in the strings, percussions. You're going to be able to tell which one is which. So it does a really good job with all its technicalities. Is it the cream of the crop, top notch #1 in its price point? That's debatable. But it is very, very competent for its price point of $73. And I really do enjoy the Sansi Miori. It really impressed me. But the one thing that is pushed a lot, and you'll see it, it's got tube sound. It's got tube sound. And to be honest, I really didn't hear that. It's got a analytical kind of old school presentation a little bit, but it's more neutral and more natural presenting than being tubey. It doesn't have that rich, robust, kind of full, warm type of presentation that I expect from a tube. It's a little bit more neutral leaning and more natural presentation. And the only tube dongle that I have, and I don't really know if you consider this a dongle, plus it's over 3 times the price, is the Muse Hi-Fi M5 Ultra. And now this uses the Jan 6418 tubes in it. And when you turn them on, you significantly hear a difference, and you hear that tubiness. You get that robust, full, kind of warm, lush type of sound. And you don't really get that with the SA500. It's not that it isn't a little bit warm and emotionally connected, but it just doesn't have that tubiness like the M5 Ultra does. So if you really want a tubey sound and a dongle type of device, I would definitely get the M5 Ultra. It's not a fair comparison. As I said, it's over 3 times the price, but the M5 Ultra is superior when it comes to detail retrieval, resolution, a little bit better with its tone and timbre. And overall, it's just a better device, but again, not a fair comparison. So let's get to a couple of devices that are in its price point. And the first one that I want to look at is the Fosi Audio DS2. Now, the Fosi Audio DS2 is slightly cheaper, coming in at about $65. And the DS2 does not have near as much power when it comes to the comparison to the SA500. The SA500 has 510 milliwatts unbalanced, and the DS2 has 170 milliwatts unbalanced. And when you start listening to the DS2 and the SA500 with headphones, that's where you really notice the difference in power. The SA500 is able to drive over your headphones better. Now, when it gets up in the higher ohm ranges, 300 ohm and higher, it kind of doesn't have the body and the fullness that those headphones usually have. You know, HD 600, HD 580, things like that. They're not going to be driven as well, but they're listenable. With the DS2, it really does struggle with those headphones and doesn't drive them as well. So if you're looking for something that can really drive over your headphones a lot better, I would definitely look at the SA500. When it comes to the sound, the DS2 is very, very close to what the SA500 sounds like. The DS2 has a little bit more presence in the uppers. It's not quite as laid back and as non-fatiguing. So if you want a little bit bitier, edgier, crispier sound in the uppers, I would definitely look at the DS2 in that regard. Everything else is very, very similar. The DS2 also has a little bit more width when it comes to the soundstage. I find that the DS2 does that grand size a little bit more than the SA500, but they're very, very similar when it comes to the bass and the mids. Plus, if you really care about it, the DS2 has a high-res sticker, so it's got to sound better. All right, and then the other one is the Dunu DC10 480, and the DTC 480, and the 480 is also a little bit on the cheaper side. It comes in around $70. I think it's on sale now for about $55 on the Dunu website. And just like the Fosi, the Dunu has way significantly less power than the SA500. It comes in having 150 milliwatts unbalanced. And so, again, with the headphones, the Dunu is going to struggle to drive those more demanding headphones, planars, and dynamics of higher ohm outputs. Now, it does okay with its lower, more easy to drive headphones, but if you're wanting to drive over ear headphones, I would definitely look at the SA500 as it has significantly more power. The sound wise, the DTC 480 is also similar in its presentation, but it is a little bit warmer and isn't quite as analytical. It's not quite as detailed, not quite as resolving as the SA500. And it is a slight step behind, but it is very musical and very enjoyable. And it's close, but not as refined as the SA500 is. It does have a little bit wider of a soundstage, and where it's differing is the depth isn't quite as deep and it's not quite as layered. It gets a little bit confused on more complex tracks. And so if you're looking for something that has good clarity, has good details, nice resolution, has a ton of power, and has just enough of that enjoyable factor while still maintaining a neutralish presentation, and has a slightly energetic treble that is well controlled and non-fatiguing, I would definitely look at the Sansi Miori, coming at $73. It doesn't have all the extras like, you know, the Fosi and the Dunu have with filters and you know, high gain, low gain, all those type of settings. It doesn't have all the specialty stuff, but if you're just looking for a plug and play, super powerful, really, really good sounding dongle, I would get this. The Sansi Miori SA500 has won me over. This is a fantastic sounding dongle. I would definitely rank it in my top 3 favorite dongles under $100. All right, so let's get to some questions. I do appreciate everybody swinging by today on a Sunday afternoon. Give me a moment here to get over to the screen. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you've tried out the Meory SA500 or anything of that, you know, hit me up in the comments. We've got about 40 minutes to talk it over and discuss things. Excuse me. Hopefully everybody's having a good Sunday. Hopefully everybody can hear me. My live stream was just a little... Oh, I started. Apparently my computer thought, my phone thought it was time to start the live stream, and I looked up and I was over here fiddling around with my computer. So apparently it thought that it was time to start. So I do apologize for the clunky beginning, but we have survived. So appreciate everybody joining. How is your Sunday going along? Any questions here? It's a nice quiet crowd apparently. My Sunday started getting up, got up around 7, a little after 7, and prepared, went to church, had to set up for some special music and got the microphones all going, and then had the services and came home and had lunch with the wife, and here I am. So it's been a non-exciting day. By the way, if there's any mothers out there and watching, listening, we'll be watching this later. Happy Mother's Day to you all, and want to wish you all a good Mother's Day. If you haven't already contacted your mother, if you have a mother that you're able to, and wished her a happy Mother's Day, here's a friendly reminder. Show your love to your mother if she's around. So anywho, any questions, comments, concerns? It's a really, really quiet crowd apparently. I can't tell you, this is just a thought that popped in my head. It's really awkward to sit in front of a camera and to wait for questions. You don't want to just sit and go, because you don't want somebody to, just join and go, well, he's not talking or doing anything. And so you have to think of things to talk about. And it's just really weird. And you feel like you're thinking to yourself, am I sounding like a moron, just yammering away about dumb stuff? So anyways, let me refresh here. Have I missed some questions? Let's see. I do apologize. It looks like the YouTube is having problems processing a little bit, so it might be a little pixelated. Internet is strong here at the house, so something's going on with YouTube. I can see it actually on my screen. It looks a little funky. So I do apologize for that. I saw a question and then it disappeared. So if you had a question, let me close out and reopen. My computer is doing some weirdness today. All right, so how does it compare to the FIO K17, KA17? Is that what you're trying to say? Because KA1, I don't think I've ever heard of that one. KA17 is a little bit more technical. It has a little bit, it's a little bit more detailed and a little bit better resolving as far in that regard. Also, it does a little bit better with its soundstage being a little bit wider and a little bit deeper. The KA17 has a little bit darker of a background. It's got a little bit more clarity, and Tonality wise, I think that the SA500 is a little bit more accurate when it comes to the tone and timbre. Good question. That's a good comparison. How much is the KA17? Um, that one's a little bit more. Doesn't that come in at like 150, if I remember? Let's see. Yeah, it comes in at 150, so it is a slight step up. Build wise, the KA17 feels a little bit better. Plus, the KA17 has more options, has filters and things like that, and it has that really cool screen that displays all kinds of stuff. So price wise, it definitely feels like a little bit you're getting a little bit more of a value because you're getting all the extras that come along with the KA17. But if you're just looking for a plug and play and you don't really care about all those extra features, the SA500 is really, really good for its price point at half the cost. There's so many good dongles nowadays that when it's becoming really hard to be able to say um, which one's the best value because there's so many of them, and obviously as a reviewer you try to listen to as many as possible, but you're never gonna hear them all. And then the bell, if I say something's the best, that's best to me, but if you've heard something else, and then so it's kind of like really subjective in that regard. All right, let's see. Kamal says, Dave, please tell an IEM around $200, which has excellent sub bass instrument separation and vocals. Moondrop Cadence would be an excellent choice. You also have the Origin from Tantrum. I think that comes in, does that come in at 190? Is the Origin, or is it Origin over 200? Bear with me a moment. Let me sort. Oops. I my brain is not thinking today. I am so like I guess I got up too early or something. Yeah. Give me a moment. All right. You gotta love when you're like, I'm gonna look that up and you look for something completely different than what you were supposed to. I was looking at Tantrum Origin. All right. Let's see here. The Tantrum Origin is 260, so it's a little bit over. Yeah, I would look at Moondrop Cadence. That's probably the value pick there. You could also go with the Katori Zephyr, but the Zephyr doesn't quite have as much sub bass. It has a little bit more of a neutral presentation in the mids and in the treble, but the cadence would have a little bit more for what you're looking for. They're both excellent though. That's a very good question. Yeah, I started at 2 o'clock, and so I had it pulled up, right. And if you do streaming on YouTube, you'll have and you set it ahead of time. You'll have it and you select it on your screen in your little calendar, and it'll say done or go live. And normally you have to click go live. And so I'm sitting here and I'm messing around over on this computer, getting everything pulled up, and I must have smiled at the camera or something. It just all instantly just I looked up and I've been live for like 20 seconds. What's going on? So I don't know what happened. It was just weird. Um okay, so what would you suggest between the Moondrop Cadence and the Kiwi Ears Aether? So keep in mind my ranking grade isn't based on performance only. It's based on the whole experience. Did I like how the box came? Did I like the cable? Do I like the fit? Do I enjoy it, being able to listen to it for a long time? And how does it sound? Now, the sound performance and the quality of the sound makes the most, because that's the most important. That makes up for most of that grade, but it's kind of an overall grade. As far as the two separated, what's the difference is, um, the besides the power requirement, the Aether does take more power being planar, and it's just a little bit harder of a drive to. So you have to keep that in mind of what your source is. The the Aether is a little bit more technical. It has a little bit more detail, a little bit better resolution. It's a little bit quicker, and the cadence is a little bit more and a warm, slightly laid back. It's not quite as forthright as the Aether is, and so they're both excellent. If you're looking for a a nitpicky presentation, but yet at the same, and that has a little bit of forthright um authority to it, I would go with the Aether. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more neutral, slightly warmer, and a little bit more musical, I would go with the Cadence. But both are excellent. Um, okay, so can you? It's let's see, it can be seen that the Moondrop Para, which is right here, um, stands pretty high in your cabinet. Can you tell us your impressions about the sound provided by Para? Um, So I have a review out on the Para. I would highly recommend that you watch that. You'll get more information. The Para is a very good planar headphone for around $350. I think is the price tag of it. And in my opinion, it's actually better than the Hi-Fi Min Sundara. It has a little bit better technical abilities, a little bit better detail, a little bit more resolution. It also has a bigger sound stage and a little bit better imaging. And in my opinion, it's a little bit more accurate. It also has a very quick and precise details and resolution, and you can really nitpick music apart with the Para, while also having nice tone and timbre, and it sounds very natural for a planar headphone, which is kind of rare. It is a big headphone, so if you have a smaller head, it probably won't fit. It's a rather large headphone. Just a quick friendly reminder, if you are enjoying the live stream, give a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. Hopefully we get more thumbs up than thumbs down. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, put them in the comments, and I'll get to them as quickly as possible. I do try to go through them in order. So if I skip you for some reason by accident, I apologize. Just re-ask the question. Um, Also, if you want to support the channel, there's various ways that you can do that. In comments, you can use super chat and all kinds of other things. You can send funny emojis and all kinds of stuff. So I don't want to beg, but any support would be welcome and appreciated. Okay, so Brano, you're welcome. All right, so we have roughly about 25 minutes or so left on the clock for this live stream. I know I say this every single time since we've been doing the live streams the last, month now. I really enjoy doing live streams this way and doing reviews along with it. It to me, it's less stressful to just sit in front of the camera and tell you some feelings about product. Um, and then also at the same time, I get to answer questions immediately, and I enjoy that. And I always enjoy meeting with you all. So hopefully you like this type of setup. We're going to try to do them on Saturdays, but it seems like Sunday afternoons for right now are working better with our schedule. Now, I don't have a problem doing Sunday afternoons, but when football season starts up, that ain't going to happen. So, we'll do this for a while until football season. We'll see how it all works out. Get your thoughts on that. All right, so Kamal says, Dave, you are my favorite IEM reviewer. Thanks from India. Hey, you're welcome. Thank you for the kind words, and I'm glad you find that the reviews are helpful. Appreciate the kind words. All right, so let's see here. Central. Hi, Dave. Glad to catch the stream. Just bought a used pair of Q Acoustic 3020s and looking for either a DAC amp combo or separate device stack under $300. Any suggestions? Yeah, I've heard of the 3020s. I haven't heard them, at least not that I remember. If I did hear them, they may have been like an audio show a long time ago. I think they're small bookshelves, if I remember correctly. So I'm not real, big on speaker amps and things like that. It's not super in my wheelhouse. The one that you could probably get if you can run. Let me look this up. Hold on. Are the Q Acoustic 3020s, are they passive or active? I don't remember. Q Acoustic 3020i. I think they're passive, right? Okay, so they're passive. You could what you could do for under $300, you could easily get the Fosi Audio Mono V3s, and you could run a mono. You would stack each speaker, run a mono, and then you could add whatever DAC you wanted. In roughly about the 100, I think the monos come in at $150 for the pair, and then you could buy a DAC, which your choice, your pick. You could either go with a Fosi, you could go with ZD3 or something along those lines, or you could get, if you wanted, what one I really like is the X-Duo XA02, the X-Duo XA02, so you could run that into the monos. If you want to spend a little bit more, you could get another DAC of some sort. But the Fosi Audio monos are awesome. Let me check the price on that. Plus, you can change the op amps on them as well. So they come in. Okay, so they're $129 a piece. So you're looking at roughly $260. You could probably find them cheaper somewhere now. They've been out for a little bit. And then pair it with whatever DAC you would want. You may have to go slightly over the $300 price point to get a DAC. But there's some really quality DACs in that $100 to $150 price point as well that you could pair it. You could even just do the Fosi stack if you wanted. So like the was a little SK, was it the SK02, I think? Is that the model number? How much is that one coming at? Do they even make it anymore? Maybe it's under, is it under desktop? Come on, where is it? There it is. So yeah, you could go for the SK01. Oh no, wait, no, that's only the headphone. Never mind. So the SK02 is the DAC. That one is sold out currently, unfortunately. That's a bummer because that was $100. But as far as speaker amps go for that price point, I definitely would go with the V3 monos. I usually have them back here, but right now because I'm using the Monoprice MM5Rs, which are active speaker, I obviously don't need a speaker amp, so saved space on the desk. But those are the ones that I actually enjoyed. But again, I'm not a big, huge speaker speakers themselves type of guy. I'm mostly a headphone IEM guy. Well, hopefully that'll point you in the right direction. I am personally thinking though you would have to boost that budget slightly. Maybe go 350 and you'd be able to get your DAC built in. Hopefully that helps. It helps you, points you in the right direction. Sorry for the rambling question answer. All right, let's see what else we got here. Okay. Where was that? Okay, here we go. So, Paul, have you ever seen or used a FIO E17K2 Alpin DAC amp? I've never heard of one. Let me look. Let me see what that is. FIO, what is it? FIO EP EP what? EP. Wait, I'm sorry, not EP. E17K2. Okay, E17. I need my glass. I need new glasses. Okay, so what is this? Okay, that kind of looks cool. An all-around starter. Is this a DAP? Interesting. No, I've never even, I didn't even know they made, I didn't even know what that model was. Kind of looks cool. I'd have to look that up. And I could see if I could get one in for review from FIO. I don't know. I've never even heard of it. Thanks for pointing something out new. Okay, cool. Oh, it's 10 years old. Oh, I gotcha. I guess I should have read your full question. It's over 10 years old now, but it would be a dongle before we needed dongles. Now that'd be interesting. So it didn't have a DAP, so it's officially doesn't have storage on it. So it's just a DAC and amp portable. Interesting. All right. Mother's Day's going well. So both my wife and I's mothers have passed on. But I do wish everybody here who is a mother happy Mother's Day. And a friendly reminder, if you haven't told your mother happy Mother's Day yet, do that. And if you can, give her a hug and do something special for your mother. All right. Yeah, so the passive speaker thing, I hope that helped. If there's anybody in the comments that maybe knows something better, that in that $300 price point, something that just came into mind that you could use is the SMSL, is it the AO300? Would also be another option. That one does have speaker outs, and I think that comes in roughly $300. Whoops. I didn't want to do that. I think that's the model number. SMSL AO300. There are so many model numbers. I don't know if you've ever noticed it with like SMSL and topping. They all have similar model numbers. It's just like, oh, so hard to keep them all straight. Yeah, so the AO300 is a power amp. And so you could essentially use that as well. I did enjoy that one quite a bit. Also, let's see how much that one costs. I don't remember the cost on that. Okay, so that comes in at $290. So that would be an all-in-one. that would be a pretty good option as well if you didn't want to go with the separates. So there you go. I'm glad I thought of that one. So the SMSL AO300, or go with the Fosi Audio Mono V3 and a DAC, but you might have to boost your budget slightly to go that route. Okay. Which basketball team are you a fan of? Well, I'm from the great state of New York. I grew up just outside of Buffalo, New York, and I've always been a New York Knicks fan. Since we've moved to Indiana, I've kind of followed the Pacers. I wouldn't say I'm a true fan of theirs, but I don't mind watching them because they're basically the only team that I can watch locally. Um, but I am through and through, I'm a Knicks fan. If you really to nail it down as far as what team. I grew up with Patrick Ewing, John Starks, all those type of guys as a kid. And then when we moved to Indiana, Reggie Miller, Rick Schmitz, and all those guys were playing for the Pacers, and they were kind of making the playoffs and making a run to the finals and things like that. And so kind of followed that. Pacers are giving Cleveland a run for their money. So we'll see how that series goes. All right, let's see. Control, you're welcome. Hopefully it helps out. I look forward to hearing what you decide to go for. You're waiting for your son while watching you. Well, hopefully your son really makes your Mother's Day enjoyable, Lori. All right, let's see. I was considering the AO300 after watching a review. Funnily enough, one just popped up on Facebook Marketplace for 150. But wow, 150 is actually pretty good for the AO300, and that would be a good starter. I don't know how it would pair again with the 3020Is because I haven't heard them, but I think they're fairly easy to drive. So that'd be an interesting pairing. Definitely would be cheaper than buying the V3 monos and a DAC. Wouldn't be a Mother's Day without them. Now that's a good mother right there. Loving your child. So we always, as kids, my sisters and I, we always spoiled my mom on Mother's Day. Well, we spoiled her all the time. She was the queen of the house, but we my mom was a great woman. And I truly loved her and learned a lot from her. But my two older sisters and I, we would always make her breakfast and lunch, things like that. So it was fun. What about hockey? What's your favorite team? That would be the Buffalo Sabres. Unfortunately, I haven't had anything to cheer about in about 15 years from them. But when I was a kid, it was Pierre Turgeon, Pat LaFontaine, Brad May, all those guys, Rob Ray. Did I have an opportunity to see Pistol Pete Maravich? I did not on TV, but not in person. Cool guy. Interesting story, and a sad ending to his life way too early. Great shooter, though. That guy was incredible. Yeah, I'm old enough to remember that. So we had a I won't tell you that. Well, I started. I might as well. So at my church, I'm also involved with the youth group, and so we had we had a service with them, and some sort of discussion came up about age, and I'm by far the oldest one, because being a leader down there, and the word that came up to describe me was vintage. That was pretty funny. That's true. The Sabres were good in the 70s. I was just a little kid, so I don't remember the 70s as much as I do more 80s and 90s. But from and I'm also a Buffalo Bills fan, so um, I don't remember when the Bills were good back in the 70s, winning the AFL championship. I don't remember those days. That's way beyond. So Kamal asks, Studio 4 or Tanzu Nezu, which is your favorite? So I like both of them a real lot. The Studio 4 is a little bit more stage monitoring focused, and is excellent at it. It's not quite as much of the all-arounder that the Nezu is. So the Neza is a little bit more. It also does the stage monitoring, and it's very neutral in its presentation, but it has just a little bit more of that all-around connection, and you can use it to listen just when you're not in monitor mode. But if you are going to use it strictly as a stage monitor, I would go Studio 4. Yes, audio definitely is vintage. And it can be, and there, that's what makes audio special, in my opinion, is there's so much that's good from the past that still outperforms a lot of stuff here in the present. But then there's this new stuff that's coming along, especially gear wise, that can really take what it's learned from those vintage days in the past and upgrade it and update it and make it perform even better while still maintaining that sound, kind of like what we reviewed today with the SA500. Kind of has that sound. So yeah, I mean, I that's what keeps music exciting for me, is how it kind of mixes both together. It's just awesome. Dragnet Sound, you're a good guy for doing what you do. Thank you. I'm glad that you enjoy it. Appreciate it. um, Fred, you're welcome. I'm glad that you're here. Appreciate it. Okay, so song. Hi Dave, I missed the start of the live, so sorry if this has already been said, but I can't find what DAC is used for the Sansi. Do you know? Actually, that is funny that you asked that. I didn't mention it because it's not listed. So I actually reached out to Shenzhen Audio and I asked them, I said, what DAC is in the Sansi Miori SA500? And they responded back, that can't be unveiled. So it's some sort of proprietary thing that Sansi Miori doesn't want to delve out the information at this time. I asked. So that's what I was told. And I'm not going to crack this thing open to see what it is. So, yeah. It's a mystery, but it sounds good, whatever it is. So if anybody really knows, maybe somebody from Sansi Miori is here in the chat. Can you tell us what the DAC chip is? It'd be appreciated. All right, so we got about 5 minutes left on the stream, and any other final thoughts, questions, ideas, music recommendations, anything like that? Yeah, so and I wish I had a better answer for you, but that's the one I got. Um, so yeah, it is what it is, I guess. with it. Young Gun Silver Fox is a great duo. Oh, I thought you were talking about. Is that a group? I don't think I've ever heard that. Hang on, I gotta Google that. Young Gun Silver Fox. Okay, I can see why they're called that. It kind of fits based off the picture. I've heard a lot of groups, but I've never heard of them. I will check them out. Thank you. Um, any other suggestions? That's kind of cool. They're like West Coast soul. Cool. Interesting. All right. It is. Sometimes you have to chuckle. When you hear a band name, you're kind of like, wonder what they were thinking when they came up with that name, and then you'll look their picture up, or listen to them or something. Oh, it makes sense now. Thanks for it. I'm always open to suggestions, and I have a very eclectic collection. So I try pretty much any type of music. Can't say that all of it's my favorite, and I definitely have some preferences, um, but I do listen to a broad range. Actually, that's a good one. The Aune M1P, I haven't heard it. Did That's a good question for me. See if I can get one in for you. Um, but I've heard good things about it. I just never heard one myself. So I'll try to see if I can get my hands on one. Do you review and buy, or do you just review? I do both. So I review if I purchase something, I pretty much review it. If something's sent to me, I, for the most part, review it. I don't shy away from not doing a review. For the most part, there are a few times where I have told a manufacturer, you don't want me reviewing this. Um, but the majority of times I do review. I've been blessed to have things provided to me to review, either through a loan or through just them sending it and gifting it to you. And then also through the support of the channel and my own personal bank account, I have purchased gear also, but I do review and purchase. In fact, the majority of stuff that I use for my reference gear, the majority of it is personally bought. There have been a few things that have stuck around that were review units, but the majority of them are personally bought. And this is all laid out in my review process. I talk about this, and I've talked about it before. To me, it doesn't matter how it's obtained. Whether it's loaned, gifted to me, or purchased. I try to keep that out of the thought process as to whether or not something is going to get a positive or a negative review. Um, because what's important is how it performs, and that's what I focus on the most. All right, let's see here. Thank you. That you're all right. Fred's confusing me using abbreviations. Thank you. That's why you're honest, Dave. Do you have any second guesses on a set you thought was really good? Well, I had that with the Tantrum Origin the other week when I reviewed that, re-reviewed that. So the original Origin I was like, this is all right. It's a little bit on the boring side, has this or that. And then when I got sent a second one and I listened to it more and I really put it through its paces, not that I didn't the first time, but it just somehow connected with me more and kind of made more sense as to what they were trying to accomplish with it. So yeah, you do have that every now and then. There was, things in the past that I've reviewed, maybe several years ago, and then it's been sitting around in the office, and I'll take it out and listen to it and go, oh, what was I thinking? Or maybe it's not as bad as I said it was. Yeah, you do every now and then second guess yourself. But for the most part, I'm pretty confident in what I say about everything. And my screen just went blank. Did my battery die? I know there were more questions, and bear with me a minute. All right, hold on a second. Have to start up the backup laptop here. Apparently, my battery died on my other one. So let's see. I do want to at least get to your other questions, and then we will call it quits for. Did I pause? There we go. All right, so let's see. Talked about honesty. All right, so speaking of classic rock, I discovered the Stones albums remastered by Bob Ludwig, and it's really good instrument separation and voice intelligibility, bass quality. It's spectacular. Interesting. I like the Stones. They have, obviously a epic career and a huge list of top 10 songs, and a lot of them number ones. I'll have to check out the remasters. I haven't really listened to those. Let's see. So Control, I would recommend Move 78. Great modern jazz mixed with some electronic elements. Yes, actually, I've heard Move 78. They're really good. I do enjoy that. And I like progressive jazz. It's kind of a I like the modern along with the old school, how it melds together. The Yellow Jackets is another one that I really enjoy. There's a couple others that are slipping my mind at the moment, but I really do. And I love progressive jazz, and I also like progressive classical music a lot. Not that I don't enjoy, the originals in the and especially in the classical, you can't, I mean, who doesn't like some Beethoven or Mahler or things like that? But there's just something about kind of adding in the newer elements and some of those newer hybrid instruments to the mix, and it just it's just I don't know. To me, it just feels more energetic and alive, and at times. All right, let's see what else. Hey Dave, do you think someone could buy an HD600 series and be done with the hobby? Depends on what you're looking for. If you are real, like if you're looking for tone and timbre and excellent layering and precise imaging within the mid range, and you don't really need that full heavy bass and the sparkly energetic highs, and you're really more focused on vocals and instruments and tone and timbre in the mid range, I think you could be really happy, especially with a 600 or a 660 S2, something along those lines. Now, technically, a 660 S2 is a 700, but we won't go there. But yeah, I think you could be happy with that if you're a person that is very much, what you're looking for, and it fits that mold. But if you are more of somebody who's always searching for more, you'll probably end up eventually getting bored with it. But there are people out there. All right, let's see. Fred, you saw that video? Okay, yeah. Let's see. Do you agree that sometimes music sounds really good, and on other days the same music doesn't feel as good with the same item? Yes. Lori and I actually had this conversation a couple times, and there's some things that it takes a while to warm up. There's others that your mood just changes. One day it's bright sunshine out, and you have the windows open, maybe the birds are chirping, the windows are flowing, and you're just like really enjoying this music. And then the next day or later that day, it's cloudy and it's storming out, and the music just doesn't connect with you. Maybe you were listening at a certain time of day and your mood was a little different. Maybe you had a cup of coffee, and then another time you hadn't had a cup of coffee yet. Things like that. There definitely is different connections. And I've also had it where I've started to listen to it, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna listen to this. I'm gonna force myself to listen to this. And at first, I'm like, oh, why am I doing it? I have to do it. I'm forcing myself. And then as it goes along, it builds, and my attitude changes. So music has this very connection that just works with your character in some way. And I'm not, a lot of times when I am not feeling well, either I'm a little run down, a little depressed, or a little had a rough day, I come in here and I listen to music, and it changes my attitude within a half hour. Just I all of a sudden have a smile on my face. So yeah, music definitely can impact in different ways. Let's see. Song. Let's see. Oh, we were talking about the Stones. It concerns the Decca period. Sure. All right. Well, it is about going on 10 after 3 here, and I actually have to be somewhere a little bit after 4 o'clock. So I do need to start wrapping up. So give you a couple minutes if you have last comments, thoughts, concerns, impressions, ideas, anything like that. Chuck them into the chat, and we'll get them covered here. And if not, we will do this again next week. And if I've missed anything in the chat when my computer decided that it was going to be on the fritz, just ask it again, and I'll get to it when I go back through the comments. Lori, you might cede my suggestion, or you might have missed my suggestion. Oh, did you give a suggestion? What did you suggest? I didn't see it, Lori. Or was it the vintage thing? I don't remember. Let's see. Contra, thanks, Dave. Happy Mother's Day to you all, to everybody in the chat and anybody who watches afterwards. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you again, Honest Dave. Have a great week. You too, Fred. We will catch you all next week. I'll post sometime as the week goes along in regards to when the next live stream is. But I think we're going to move, instead of doing Saturdays, I think we're going to do Sunday afternoons. Seems to work a little bit better. And Lori, if you could put it in the comment, and I'll see what your suggestion was. I'm sorry if I missed it. I glanced back through. I didn't see anything. So I'm curious as to what you suggested, because you have an excellent taste in music. But again, happy Mother's Day to all. And you all have yourself a great week. Oh, wait. Hold on. Lori says, vintage deck suggestion for your viewers. Look up a few lines up. Gotcha. So vintage decks. I know Lori has one. I can't remember the model number. Is it a Matrix? Yeah, you had a Matrix, I thought. I mean, an old school Matrix. I'm not very good with vintage, though. Decks and amps. I did have an old audio gone. What was that model number? That was a long time ago. Hang on. It was it was like, took up like 2/3 of my desk. Weighed about 20 pounds. What was that model? Hold on, I'll find it. NFB 12.1. That's about the most vintage that I had. And then there was one more. I don't even know if I what was, oh, the Music Hall DAC 1502, 15.2. Sorry, Music Hall 15.2. That thing, it's not real big. It's fairly small. It's about probably the size of the Mytek, but it has that warm analog sound signature. So if you're, and it pairs really well with speakers, especially like an older analog speaker that has that very clean neutral presentation. Pair it with a Music Hall 15.2 if you can find it, and it'll give that little natural warmth. And it has this cozy feeling. Now, you don't want to use it in a big, huge room because it'll kind of bleed out and won't sound very good. But use it in a smaller setting, like with bookshelf speakers in a small office, and it just gives you that warm, cozy, like you're sitting in front of the fireplace and listening to jazz music late at night. So the Music Hall 15.2 with some sort of vintage speaker. Really, really nice setup. So that's about as finished as I can go. Lori, is that good enough? I don't even know if you can find that anymore. They're kind of hard to find. Music halls are. All right, so she had go up a few more. So you actually listed one, and let me go a little further up. You're not vintage. You don't know what vintage is. Is that what you're referring to? You're right. But to a teenager, I'm vintage. You know, when you're nearly 4 times their age, or 3.5 in a lot of the cases. Anyways, all right. So this has been fun. Thank you for everybody joining. I do greatly appreciate it. I do have to run. So I will chat with you all later. And don't forget to check out the links down below. There's all kinds. You went too far, or I went up too far. All right, hang on. All right, let me find this. You're not vintage. You don't know what vintage is. Wouldn't be a mother without him. Waiting for my son. That's probably way too far. My audio is vintage, and I've told you before. So great stuff. Yes, you have. I'm missing it, Lori. Sorry, but I do have to run. I will chat with you all next week, and I look forward to the next video review that we're going to do, which is going to be on a flathead. It is a Tech EBX25 Ti. So we're going to do that review. That'll come out on Wednesday. And if you haven't already, please check out the description down below. There's all kinds of information on it regarding how you can contact channel, follow channel, support channel, all that kind of stuff listed down below, along with the gear recommendations, music recommendations, and all kinds of other things down below. Check them all out. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, thumbs down if you have to, and don't forget to enjoy the music, and that honesty is the best policy. And I'll talk with you later.